I think the most interesting thing about when Jimmy came along, Hollywood was on the cusp of another major evolvement. There was the old Hollywood and the new Hollywood.
And now, more stories from Lew Bracker.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Jimmy had the most fantastic curiosity I've ever encountered. He was interested in everything and wanted to know a little about everything. His friend, my great friend, late Lenny Rosenman, who did the music for his first two films, said that Jimmy thought in headlines, and that's not true. I didn't think that was accurate. And I told Lenny that. Jimmy wanted to know a little about everything. He wanted to know more about music than he knew. He wanted to know more about art than he knew. He wanted to know about everybody else's job on the sets, because I witnessed this. On the sets, Jimmy didn't hang around with the other actors. I called him the world's foremost brain picker. He would be talking to everybody, cameramen, grips, electricians, the wranglers, it didn't matter who it was. He wanted to know what they did, where they came from, how they came to be doing what they're doing. That's the kind of curiosity he had. The most important thing in Jimmy's life was his craft. It wasn't girls, wasn't cars, it was his craft. He wanted to direct because he thought it was more releasing. It was a bigger world than just acting. And he would have been one of the ones, and people, his fan clubs and all that, they all talk about what movies he would have made and they didn't get to make. And I look at it slightly different. Of course, there's that element. But Jimmy would have been one of the leaders in pushing Hollywood. He would have been more like Orson Welles in the making of movies and pushing for new techniques. He was a new vision. People don't understand that. Yes, he was a great actor and, super talented and all that. But he was a driver in his own way. He was a force. And his force was for the future. He was not at all content with what was now. He was always about what could be.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So I really wanted to ask you, as someone who has seen the evolution of film and the art of cinema itself, what is your perspective of modern day filmmaking and Hollywood in general with advancements in technology, and how much has it just changed over the years?
The movies from 1928, 29 on have been in a constant evolvement. The movie industry and film making has always been a work in progress and probably always will be. I think the most interesting thing about when Jimmy came along, Hollywood was on the cusp of another major evolvement. There was the old Hollywood and the new Hollywood. I think 1950, the early 50s was the cusp of that. Jimmy was certainly the new Hollywood, along, Brando and those guys started blazing that trail. And George Stevens, for instance, was old Hollywood. And that was the big problem with Giant. Technically, you're going to get, from the day that Harry Warner bought Videophone because he saw the future in talkies, today, you've seen constant improvement in sound and screen size because of the lenses and, CinemaScope and all the other scopes.
One of my favorite parts of your book, you discuss this fantastic moment where you and James go to an advanced screening of Rebel Without a Cause. and no one knew you were there. You got to witness the reaction of the audience members to James' performance in the film itself. And I was wondering if you could share with viewers a little bit about this moment and what you got to experience that night.
First of all, I'll preface that by telling you that while I knew Jimmy, which was through the making of his 3 films, we rode around Hollywood, we hung around places. Nobody even knew Jimmy, never asked for an autograph, even after East of Eden had been released. As to Rebel, in the afternoon, and this was not unusual, Jimmy called me where I was working and said, meet me at the villa at 6:00. And that's it. And I said, all right. I had questions. For somehow with Jimmy, I never asked the questions. I was just more interested in see what he had on his mind later. All will be revealed was my motto. Anyway, 6:00 at the villa was way out of our norm. That's really early. So I got there and Jimmy was there and with Dick Clayton, his agent on the ground here. His real agent was Jane Dacey in New York. Dick was looking after his needs here on the ground. We had dinner and then Jimmy said, we're going to Huntington Park. There's Warner's is sneaking Rebel. We got into Dick Clayton's convertible, Ford convertible, I remember. Drove to the theater in Huntington Park, and they ushered us into the manager's office, and there were Warner Brothers suits all over the place. Jimmy and I never discussed films. We never discussed acting. I'm not an actor. I never pretended to know, or I'm a film fan, not an expert. Anyway, so when the lights went down, they moved us into the theater. Rebel is shown. Sneak previews in those days, the studio would hand the audience each a review card, which would be collected as they left the theater. So Jimmy and I were ushered into the manager's office, along with Dick Clayton, to wait for all the cards to be collected so the guys from Warner's could look at them and see what the response was and all that. Anyway, they started going through the cards. Jimmy wasn't that interested. So we just sat there and watched them. And then they started looking at each other, and evidently the cards were, off the chart. Rebel originally started as a black and white film. And to his credit, Jack Warner saw the first rushes and had him start over to film the film in color. The audience couldn't say enough about Jimmy. Loved the film. We left knowing that the Warner's guys had been floored by the response. Jimmy and I did not discuss the film. I sat in the back seat. Jimmy sat in the front. Dick was driving his car. And they didn't really discuss much at all about the film. I didn't say a word on the way back. Dropped us off at the villa. Jimmy and I went inside into what was usually our booth and just, ordered a glass of wine, which is normal. I sat across from Jimmy. Jimmy, as usual, in the corner with his leg up on the seats, which I always interpreted as, don't you dare sit here. Don't anybody dare sit there. Jimmy was very defensive in those days. There was a little incident. Nick Adams worked very hard to try and be Jimmy's best friend. No actor was Jimmy's best friend, for one thing, but Nick was very, very jealous of me. Anyway, he came in with Natalie Wood. They sat in the adjoining booth. Part of the booth was right next, right over the divider to mine, to where I was sitting. Jimmy was sitting across the table. Natalie was excited, and she half climbed over and wanted to know what I thought. And I said, I think everybody in the film is going to be, their career is going to be helped. That's all I offered. She's jabbering and excited, and all of a sudden we hear from Nick, "Are you with them or are you with me?" Jimmy is just observing with that smirk on his face. He's looking to see what's going on. I totally ignored the whole thing. She made, like a face, as if to say, "Oh God," and said, "I better get back." And she went back to her booth. That little incident was just a part of Nick being very frustrated and jealous for some, whatever.
Thank you for watching the Burbank International Film Festival's Real Conversations. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And learn everything you need to know about the festival at burbankfilmfest.org. See you next time!